Hey guys, it's Katie Rubin. Thanks so much for tuning in. Once again, we love you. We have no podcast without you. We really, really don't. This week, you're going to hear another episode of Katie Church. May it be informative and useful and inspiring to you. This one is on the topic of grounding and its value and how it relates to trauma healing, spiritual ascension. And I take you through a bunch of really cool, deep, profound grounding exercises. And we even do a big grounding healing inside the episode. So please enjoy. Also, if you're looking to amp up your own healing process, hop on into my next mid-level to advanced healing class called Star Beings. We begin next Tuesday, and it's a 4-week intensive, 2 hours each week in the group online. Plus, you get 2 private 50-minute sessions with yours truly. So we kind of dig it all up in class, begin the healing work in class through divine light transmission, and then we deepen into your process through your private sessions. It's a really effective, very fast, deep, intense way to process through a lot of stuff and to activate your spiritual alignment and to bring more magic and miracles into your reality faster. Also, Writing in Alignment, my writing class for writers of all types, begins next Thursday. There's a Thursday day class and a Thursday evening class. This is for folks starting writing, mid-level writing, advanced writing. It's to get your writing done. It's a 7-week class. It's online. There are 2 sections of it, daytime and evening time. Email me if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to chat with you about it. My email is klrubin, K as in kiss, L as in love, RUBIN @gmail.com. That's gmail.com. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to that spiritual activity.
Hello. Hi, guys. How's it going? Let's get the hair. Let's get it working. It's also reverse. It's like mirror reversal situationiness. So it's hard to know how to touch your own head. Hello. Good to see you guys. Hi. Hi. We'll let some folks trickle in today. We're talking about grounding and we're going to do some of it. But before we do some of it, let's talk about its value and why we might bother. I can't get the hair. I can't, just so often lately, I just can't get it to do anything that I feel good about. So then I just surrender and go, well, it is what it is. Coming to you live from Jacksonville, Florida. Florida is a state that for me is very grounding. Just by being here, my whole lower chakra system happens to open up. Did you know that different places on the earth do different things to your body, in part because of the energy of those places, and in part because of the energy of you, and in part because of astrology and what the planets are doing, what the water is doing, what the elements are doing. So there are, more and less auspicious places on the earth for each of us to sit or dwell. If you're curious about that, you can have a session with an astrocartographer and they will tell you different parts of the world. You can also Google and figure it out yourself. There are these lines that go across the planet that represent astrological influences. And those lines are connected to or related to, all the planets and their energies and the signs. And so depending on what your birth chart is or was, different spots on the earth will resonate more fully or less fully with your birth chart. So if you live there, you'll have an easier time or a harder time or a specifically this kind of time or that kind of time. So anyway, that's part of what inspired my grounding topic for tonight. Another thing that inspired it is just all the years of energy work. And, over time, as I've been on the road for a while, at different points on the journey for all of us, of our energy healing, of our integration, of our activation, of our processing of our trauma from the past, because it's all one thing, right? We each need different things at different times. So there may be times where you need a lot of sleep for months in a row. And there may be times where you need to do, transpersonal psychology for a while. And there may be times where you need to do EFT tapping for a while. And there may be times where you need to be very astrological for a while. And it'll shift and change and ebb and flow or not. You may be somebody who does one thing forever. But my point being, everybody's different. And so we never know what we're going to need until we need it, and then we get to pursue it. And Squeezer has arrived. She may have murdered a lizard today. I'm not going to say for sure, but there may have been a death right in front of me. This little lizard was going, and she was like, "Kapah!" And he was like, "But can I?" And she was like, "Papa!" And then she chewed him up. Nature. So what am I talking about that previous stuff? My point is that for me, grounding is this sort of topic that surfaces and goes away and surfaces and goes away as it's relevant. And lately it's been up again. For me, the kind of trauma I experienced as a young baby person was so traumatizing in the grounding chakras, in the first, second, and third chakras, that I couldn't work from the lower chakras up. I had to work from the upper chakras down. So in so doing, there's a lot you learn through. I learned a lot through that. I had a lot of teachers who were like, "Well, you need to have a garden and do some grounding," or "How do you ground?" They would say. And I'd be like, "I fucking don't. I don't even know what that is." What? Then I was part of a system for a while where they were like, grounding is bullshit and you don't need to ground. If you're infinitely conscious and aware, grounding is bullshit. And my ego and my mind really liked that idea because I didn't like grounding. Why? Why would you not like grounding? And it's in the description of today's talk and process today, which is to say that from chakras 4 and up, or you could say if we're going with the 9-centered system, like from the G center up, it's a much more comfortable place to live if you're someone who's had a lot of trauma. If you're someone who identifies as an empath or a spiritual person or what's it called? HSP, highly sensitive person, chances are good you've had first, second, and third chakra trauma, which makes it very, very comfortable for you, or I should say much more comfortable for you to be in this chakra and up. For one, because your trauma is not sitting there or isn't as painful there. And two, because these chakras are about higher frequency energies, concepts, awarenesses. So it's more comfortable to sit with the energy of love and expression or singing or talking and seeing and knowing and divinity and light. Those are fun, light energies to sit with. The sense of self and sexuality and earth, survival, money. I'm trying to point to my 3, 2, 1, but there's a dog in the way. Those are usually where we're holding a whole lot of shit. And so it's a lot less comfortable to feel into 3, 2, and 1. So by the way, I'm a big fan of this point of view, and it can be a little challenging and triggering for some people. But if you find yourself being an empath, 9 times out of 10, empathy, as we tend to refer to it in our culture, really speaks to you had trauma in your childhood. Your system got broken open and perceptive and highly attuned to the frequencies of the particular trauma. So let's say you had an abusive dad. A survival tool to survive an abusive father is to become very attuned to that particular kind of abuse. So then you walk around your life very attuned to that particular kind of abuse. So any kind of little vibration of it, you're going to sense in the entire field of all the people around you. So if you're a big fat empath, a lot of times you want to look at what is the trauma that created the break in your system that allowed that for you? And that's a really great way to start really doing your work or deepening your work as it were. I can say that over the years, there's so much to say. We need to do a whole Katie Church on empathy and trauma. And so we will. But to bring it back to today's topic, my point being about grounding is that, oh, hey, Benjamin, Ismail, what's up? And Gretchen Lou, how you do? Good to see you all. So being an empath, being a sensitive, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be someone who's like, ugh, I don't want to deal with chakras 1, 2, and 3, and I don't want to ground. Or I'm already grounded. I'm fine. People hate it. And again, it's because trauma in chakras 1, 2, and 3 is much more uncomfortable than trauma in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And also just being in your body is more uncomfortable than not being in your body. And the higher up in the chakra system you go in your body, the less embodied that is. These are refined energy centers compared to these down below. So the less refined they are, the more dense they are. The more dense they are, the more connected to the emotions they are. The more connected to the emotions, the more icky you can feel. Brings us to why the Buddhists are very smart and wise. Today's episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. San Pellegrino, creating burps all across the land. So the Buddhists are wise because they said, their whole thing starts with life is suffering. They're like, cool. First, accept that life is suffering, and then you're going to be okay. Everything comes after life is suffering. And in my early days of doing energy work, I was like, that's just negative thinking. Those Buddhists are so negative thinky. And you can frame it that way. But I now understand in my age and my wisdom exactly what they meant. Once you start to anchor into chakras 1, 2, and 3 and really do your trauma work, AKA really get embodied, AKA build your compassion and mercy for all the pain you went through when you were quite young, you start to realize, oh shit, embodiment is suffering. Now, it doesn't mean every minute has to be suffering, but suffering is inherent in having a body. It is part of the having a body thing. So if you can be in less resistance to the inherent suffering of humanity, of being in a body, you're going to have a lot easier time being in a body. Everything we resist, of course, persists, but also everything we resist becomes all the reasons we hate being alive or wish that we could not be, or choose to numb out or choose to check out or choose to go asleep or whatever it may be. So life is suffering. And grounding is important. And grounding gets you in touch with the fact that life is suffering. So now you're even less interested in grounding now that I've sold it in that way. Here's the good news about grounding. The more you do it, there's so much to say about it. Gosh, the more we ground, we start to soften and break up that which makes this life feel so full of suffering. Life can become normal amounts of suffering as opposed to constant, painful, awful suffering. And if you really want to get on the fast track towards integrating everything and healing and having as minimal suffering, as little suffering as possible, and activating your light body and having access to all the realms of whatever you're looking for access to, boy, would it behoove you to ground more and do your healing work on the grounding chakras, on the first chakra in particular. Because the first chakra, think of it like, if a house gets struck by lightning and it's well grounded, the lightning's just going to hit the top and slide around the edges and go into the earth and dissipate. But if a house is not well grounded and it hits the top, it's going to fry out the antenna of the TV and it's going to crack your windows and everything goes to shit. Well, why is that? It's like we are literally, the earth is an amazing, amazing thing. She is literally giving us everything we need in every moment to be able to do the higher self stuff we're trying to do. When you want to start a business or run a business or put a show together or become a media mogul or do anything high-minded, right, and expansive, anything big, any big project you want to do that's like, you have a big expansive vision and you want to bring it into reality, the more grounded you are, the easier it's going to be to bring that high frequency light concept all the way down into your body and then into this 3-dimensional reality. Additionally, the more grounded you are, the more light you can hold from the divine. So if you're looking to do divine light healing work, or if you're a light worker or a star being looking to hold more light or do more woo-woo shit, whatever your version of woo-woo shit is, it would behoove you to be more grounded so you can hold more. It's like you want to be a psychic antenna that can receive a lot of psychic input. So then we're going to be really grounded. Lastly, I'll say this about it, and then we're going to get into some exercises. We're just going to do some of it. I lost my train of thought. So you want to be a grounded psychic antenna. Oh, when you do a ton of high vibe work, like people who get, for example, into Kundalini yoga right after realizing they have a lot of trauma, for example, let me frame that another way. Kundalini yoga is a very, very powerful way to activate a lot of light through your spinal column. A lot of people get into activating a lot of light and raising the Kundalini and all the things that Kundalini does, which is incredible and amazing. But a lot of people get into it before they're grounded. And when you get into Kundaliniizing yourself before you're grounded, you're going to be real sparky up here and real bright and real awake and real tapped in and a little fucking crazy. Because when that much brightness and light isn't anchoring down into the earth, it just starts to schizoid out. It's when people do all kinds of crazy weird shit. It's when you get into the stuff like Wild Wild Country Guy, Osho, and just all the spiritual leaders who become so expansive up here and they're like, the rules don't apply to me and I live above reality and I should buy more Rolls Royces and I can fuck my students. That's appropriate. I can do heroin and drugs because it's nothing. I'm just the light. If you were integrated and grounded and receiving that much light and waking that up that deeply, you would realize the consequences to your actions of fucking all your students and doing all the heroin. So you might make a different choice. Now, this isn't about morality. It's not like get grounded and you'll have a moral high ground or something. This isn't about right and wrong or judgment. This is what I'm trying to say is that if you look as a spiritual teacher if you look actually at what it does to do drugs and bring drugs into your nervous system, and when you look at what it does to like have sex with people who are looking up to you for answers to heal their broken, injured hearts, and they want to cross boundaries with you and merge with you in the sexual realm, and you go, why not? I'm God. Everything's God. Everything's oneness and God and light, because you're not fucking grounded and you haven't done your own trauma work on chakras 1, 2, and 3. You can imagine all the problems it creates when you start having sex with your students or when you start having sex with your teachers. Now, there are, of course, certain cases where it works out and people have great relationships and they stay together with their teacher or their student or whatever. But I'm talking about when it's done unconsciously, and it happens because the people in charge have not worked through their sexual trauma 9 times out of 10, or they haven't purified the sexual masculine energy that really needs to be purified for every male-bodied human on this earth, or they haven't looked at the value of lust and how they've placed lust above everything else and how lust is no longer in alignment with source. So blah, blah, blah. The point is, we need to do our grounding work. It's really important, particularly those of us working with high frequency light, because we need to be embodied enough that we are responsible with the light. You know that saying, what is it? Along with great power comes great responsibility, that idea. I really am a big believer in that notion and in the importance of the wisdom of that sentence, because I have watched very powerful spiritual leaders use their spiritual power really toxically. And it's become a real serious priority in my life to talk very openly about it, because I will not contribute to that in this lifetime. Knock wood, thank you, God, God willing. Nor can I go quietly into the night and not speak to it. So many people do it. Because when you get a lot of spiritual light moving through you, it's very easy to let it hit your ego and you can become very self-important. And you can think it's all about you now and look how fancy you are. If you are integrated in chakras 1, 2, and 3, if your lower and higher selves are integrated through the heart center, which is right here at the middle of the body, to integrate the light with the body, the lower 3 chakras, you're not going to pull that crazy shit, because you're going to be aware of the impact of your actions and your choices. So, grounding. Let's do a little bit of it right now, shall we? I feel like I could literally talk for a week on this topic, but let's dive into it and have an experience instead. Because as we know, as mystics, which you all are, knowing God is a very different thing than chit-chatting about it, right? Becoming the light is a very different thing than chit-chatting about the light. Grounding is a very different thing than chit-chatting about grounding. So we want to live into these energies and be them so that we really know of which we speak. So we'll close our eyes. We're going to do some of this we've done together before. Some of it will be different. And then I'm going to run a clearing on everything that's standing in our way, each of us in chakras 1, 2, and 3, from each of us being willing to be grounded, wanting to be grounded, desiring to be grounded. We're going to clear what's in the way of that, or anything that's like unconsciously keeping you from grounding, et cetera, and so on. Okay. And everything we're capable of releasing in one small healing session, that is. So we'll close our eyes. And let's take a few conscious breaths into the low belly. By the way, this is why we start with the low belly breath. It's very integrating and it's very grounding. So we're going to breathe into the space from your belly button all the way down to your butt cheeks. So feel your glutes against the chair you're on. And just imagine that entire space from your belly button all the way down to the glutes expanding each time you inhale. And then allow that whole area to collapse or contract back each time you exhale, meaning the belly button will literally come toward the spine as you exhale. Inhaling, belly button comes away from the spine. Exhaling, belly button comes toward the spine. Inhaling, belly button comes away. Exhaling. Now, for me, with all this work I've done, just taking 3 conscious breaths, the channel, how I connect with the divine at the back of my neck starts to blow open. That is the power of the breath And that is the power of grounding. It is very grounding just to breathe into your low belly. Already we are beginning to ground. And the universe goes like, oh, she's grounding. Cool. We're going to blow a bunch of divine light connection into her system because she can hold it now. Okay. And so as we continue to consciously, and let me say this, if you need a little help getting this low belly breath to really work for you, if you notice that you're breathing shallowly in the chest, or if your breaths are up in your shoulders, it can really help to breathe through your mouth, through pursed lips, as if through a straw, because this gives you great control over the breath coming in and the breath going out. It also allows the connection to the low belly between, you want to imagine a direct line of energy between your belly button all the way straight up through the midline to your mouth. So when I blow out like this, through pursed lips, as if through a straw, the air is coming straight from the belly button all the way up and out. Of course, we know the lungs are actually working and the diaphragm is involved, but we're trying to deepen our connection with the lowest parts in the body. So we're acting as if kind of the breath is coming into the belly. And frankly, it is. But the lungs, of course, are involved. We're just not bringing our attention to the lungs. We're bringing our attention to the belly. Okay, so we inhale, let that belly stick out. We exhale. We watch and feel the belly button come back toward the spine. Continue to do this audibly through your mouth if you are really wanting to get the experience of it. As you now become aware of the bottoms of each foot, feel into the full surface area of the bottom of each foot. Notice any resistance you have that's coming up around breathing into your low belly. Oftentimes people have a ton of resistance around low belly breathing. And it's because we have a ton of resistance around getting embodied. Why? Because that's where all the pain is from the past. Don't worry, we're going to dissolve it and process it. We'll do a bunch of that today. So as we breathe into the low belly, we feel the entire surface area of the bottom of each foot. We're going to visualize a little spinning foot chakra at the bottom center of each foot, like we always do, like a little tornado of light or a little hurricane of light at the bottom center of each of your feet. And we're going to watch that little spinning tornado spin wider and wider and wider. Opener and opener and opener, until the entire surface area of the bottom of each of your feet is just an open plane of energy, like an open window. And we're going to acknowledge the following truth, which I will explain as we process and practice acknowledging it. When we open the foot chakras, just by doing that simple action, your aura extends about 15 feet around your body in every direction, and the aura of the earth extends many hundreds of miles into space around the earth in every direction. When you open your foot chakras, the aura of the earth and the aura of you begin to have a more intimate communion with one another. Truth be told, on a certain level of consciousness, they're always interacting, right? The aura of you is always there, and the aura of the earth is always there. So they're always touching each other and merging together and interacting, as it were. But when we open the foot chakras, it's like we become more receptive to the actual frequencies and energies of the aura of the earth. So what I'd like you to imagine is that big, huge aura that extends out many hundreds of miles from the earth and around her body. See it now enveloping your entire body. See it also enveloping your aura, 15 feet around your body in every direction. It's like if you were to zoom out outside of the earth, up into space, and look down and see the big aura emanating around the outside of the earth. And then think about how small your little body is sitting on top of that huge earth. And watch if the aura is emanating out and so bigly into space, of course, you're going to be immediately swallowed up. That teeny tiny you and your teeny tiny aura is just taken over by this light. Now, understand you don't have to be afraid, because what are you being swallowed up by? Nurturance, love, care, the ground, the great mother, the non-toxic mother, the loving mother, the ever-present mother who's sitting right below our feet all the time. And so as you become enveloped by her nurturance and care and light and love, I'd like you now to see the fragments and aspects and elements and the energies of this aura. They begin to seep up into your feet. The aura of the earth is merging into each of your feet now. I see it like a kind of warm ooze, like a dense, warm liquid. You can see it however you want to see it or however it comes to you. We're going to watch the auric energy, the love and the nurturance of the earth, fill in each of your feet. And it comes up your ankles and fills them in. Allow your heart to soften as we do this. And your will center, which is the upper central back, to soften. And your brain stem at the back of your neck to soften. And we'll see this aura, this energy, this ooze climbing up our legs now, filling in our shins and calves, filling in all the places and spaces inside the skin of our bodies. We watch that aura of the earth and nurturance and love like an ooze come up into the knees and flood and nurture and take care of the knees. And we'll watch it ooze up into the quads and glutes and hamstrings of the legs. Anytime you find yourself reacting or getting clenchy in your heart, you can take a nice exhale like you hear me doing, blowing air out of your heart so you allow it to soften. We see that aura continue to merge with and ooze up into the upper parts of our thighs, into the base of the spine, into the genital area, flowing now, oozing now, nice and slowly up into the pelvic, the whole pelvic girdle, low belly, the womb space for the ladies. And we feel that nurturance from the earth, the aura of the planet coming up into the low belly, the mid belly, the upper belly. We watch it and feel it and allow it to flood into the spinal column. Now, anywhere that you're tense, tight, or holding or resisting, try to soften that and let it go and let this ooze, this love, this warmth fill in those places that are holding or resisting or tense or tight. Use your breath to help you release places and points of tension and holding and resistance. And we watch that aura and that ooze come all the way up through the belly button area, through the spinal column, up into the back of the solar plexus, the front and the middle of the solar plexus, into the heart, center of the chest, the spinal column behind the heart, the chest muscles and the breasts, the breastplate, the ribs, the upper chest, the shoulders, the armpits, the upper arms, the will center at the upper back, filling in with this warm, oozing, nurturing, grounding, auric earth energy. And we watch and feel it travel up the spinal column into the neck, up into the front and the middle of the neck. If you have any places where you start to panic, just allow the love to come into those panic places, those nervous places, and watch how the love of the aura of the earth nurtures and calms that panic. And we see this aura filling in the jaw and the brain and the face, behind the mouth and the nose and the cheekbones, the eyes and the forehead, the ears, the back of the skull, the front of the skull. And once the head is filled in, we see this oozing, nurturing light flowing down each arm, the upper arms and the armpits and the elbows, the forearms and the wrists and the palms and the backs of the hands and the fingers and the fingertips. And as we continue to breathe low and slow in the body with no effort or no stress and no strain, we just notice what it feels like to have the entirety of your body cavity filled in with earth energy, earth light. And we'll just be with the frequency of that experience for just a moment here. Notice any places inside your body cavity that feel walled off from receiving this nurturing aura, this oozing warmth. And just imagine allowing the ooze to just ooze right into the walled off place. It is fragments of light, after all. So fragments of light can, quarks and particles of light can pass through anything in your body anyway. So we just trust that they are more powerful, more loving, more nurturing than any blockage you might have anywhere in your body. So just come into contact with any parts or places that are walled off or resistant. And just know that as you come into contact with those places and spaces inside you, your contact with those places allows this earth light to ooze up into those places and spaces just by you being in contact with them. In many ways, contact is the great healer. The contact of your attention on an injury, the contact of earth love to an injury, the contact of starlight to an injury. It's the attention, the connection that creates the reunification and the wholeness you're seeking. Notice any openings, gaping holes, caverns, vortices inside your body that seem to not yet be filled with the light of the earth. Just watch the ooze into those caverns, those holes, those vortices. Anywhere you find resistance, tightness, tension, allow it to release itself out of your mouth through breath, through pursed lips, as if through a straw. Good. And now what we're going to do with all this grounded earth light moving through our systems, I'm now calling up into conscious awareness everywhere in each of your systems and mine, where any of us is holding energies that resist receiving, grounding, nurturing energy. Any places and spaces in my system or yours. Where you resist, hate, push away, are closed off to grounding light, energy of the earth, connecting to your first chakra. We call up now into our conscious awareness all the parts of self, entities, demons, past lives, karma, trauma, emotions, processed or unprocessed, past, present, or future, fragmentations, oaths, vows, fealties, communities, swearings, promises, commitments, bindings, bondings, blood oaths, signs sworn or committed to, consciously or unconsciously, across all time, dimension, space, and reality. Any of those that stand in the way of you being grounded, wanting to ground, being willing to ground into this body and this reality on this planet. Notice anything and everything that comes up for you. And just feel into what comes up. Stay with it. We open ourselves now, all of us on this Facebook Live, to receive powerful earth healing light, divine light, star light, conscious awareness light. Into all the places and spaces inside of ourselves that refuse, resist grounding, hate, don't want grounding, can't receive grounding because of trauma. Any trapped energies in your nervous system and anywhere along the spinal column, anywhere in the solar plexus or third chakra, keeping you from having ease with grounding, from desiring to ground, anything keeping you, blocking your grounding, injuring your first chakra. I call it up into conscious awareness now. And ask that it be met with the light of consciousness. Any and all past life energies or karmic energies you're carrying cause you to resist or hate or not be able to ground. We call all those up into conscious awareness and ask that they be brought to present time, completed, processed, and released now for everybody on this Facebook Live. Every belief, conscious or unconscious, that has you using food, alcohol, drugs, sex, money, power, busyness, television, or any other external activity to ground when you could simply ground. Everything causing that distortion, we call it up into conscious awareness. All right, and as we continue to process all of that and release all of that, and integrate all of that. If anyone has a question about this or could use some assistance or facilitation moving a stuck energy right now in your body on this topic, please type it into the comments. Keep in mind your questions, if they're sincere, always contribute to the group. And anywhere you're noticing resistance to grounding, a block to grounding, something that won't shift, soften, or open, please feel free to type it in now. My mind wants to go off on random tangents as I'm doing this. Is that part of resistance? Absolutely. Absolutely. And just know, in your case, love, the resistance is actually in the heart. It starts in the heart as a kind of, some kind of pain, some kind of emotional pain. that feels a little too scary to tap into, a little too much. So the psyche pops you up into the mind and gets the mind busy and chattering to distract you from the pain that's being activated by the grounding. So it'd be great to sit into, for you, the bottom center of the heart, if you can, and see how that helps you. Let me know how that goes. Okay, Rahima says, thank you, Katie, for this. I'm hitting an intense heaviness and pressure in my whole being. Feels maybe like a deeply rooted wall in my heart. If you have any advice. Okay, this is, okay, Rahima, like a kind of resistance that your nervous system has all the way through. Like if you imagine your whole body has nerves in it, right? The skin and the muscles and everything, nerves, neck and back and belly. Your nervous system is like, no thanks, I'm not up for this grounding shit. Because when I grounded when I was young, aka when I was born, all this bad shit happened. You know, the birth process was hard, childhood was hard, then the bad things happened, that was hard, you know. So the nervous system is defending against receiving grounding energy, earth, light. So what we know about energies that defend against receiving is we want to give them room to resist. So we want to sort of like, in this moment, you could, Rahima, say, like you're feeling into your nervous system right now, into that great heaviness all over your being. It's like merge with it to the degree that it lets you. Yeah. Just be there with it and let it be fucking pissed. Ugh. And as you let it be pissed and resistant and have a voice, bit by bit, it starts to soften and receive the earth light into itself. This is a really great lesson for everybody about resistance. We don't want to resist, so then we start resisting our resistance, which just creates more resistance. Instead, what you want to do is let the resistance resist and make contact with it, feel into it, give it a voice. What does the resistance want to say? In this case, I was able to, for Rahima, tell her it's saying no fucking thanks, because that's where the bad shit happened, is with all that earth light. So now that it's having a voice, she can start to feel into it a little more, because it says, oh, in its consciousness, she's listening to me. She's listening. She's here. She cares. She's making contact. She's giving me her attention. Maybe now I can soften and let my guard down just a bit. So I would keep with that, Rahima. Okay, Gretchy, Lou, the insteps of my feet, medial arches, the big toes keep raising off the floor. They feel resistant to hold the weight of the energy, sending support and awareness to you as your channel and assist the reset. Thank you so much. Feeling so much movie. Thank you. Deeply acknowledged and held. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Insteps of your feet, medial arches, and big toes. Okay, so for you and Carrie Page, feel into the stuck energy in your upper back left side. And Gretchy, let's stay with the feet, medial arches, big toes. We're asking consciousness, divinity, to soften and release where these ladies are in resistance to grounding. We're asking consciousness, divine light, divinity. To process through what creates the medial arch, toe lift, and the upper back pain and the whole body heaviness density. The real healer, the real grounder. Squeezle the dog. And as you know, when one part of the body or the system starts to receive the grounding or release its resistance, you might notice it kicks up somewhere else. In which case, just bring your attention there as I get kisses from the dog. Okay, that should be a bit better for each of you. Let me know. Shame in the second, kind of sharp, more to the left. Yes. I'm so glad, Carrie. Thank you for sharing. Oh, good, Margaret. I'm glad to hear it. Let's feel into the shame for you, Ben. Yeah. I'm glad, Gretchen. Thank you. Okay, my loves. So we're going to pause here for now, but please notice, my God, just the power of the earth light, the power that grounding has. I mean, that was a powerful transmission of light. And when I say powerful in this way, it was effective, but slow, gentle, like a stone, like a rock. But look how powerful something slow moving and gentle can be. We tend to think power is big and loud and intense, but not always. And I hear you, Rahima. Let's bring that to class. I think that's a perfect thing. Oh, you're not in class right now. Whenever you're back, or do a session. We'll do a thing. I love you. All right, my loves, move slowly. Be gentle with yourselves. Thank you for being here. Speaking of class, Star Beings starts up again next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. I believe I'm changing the shape of it this time around. I think I'm going to do it as a 4-week class with 2 private sessions per person, just like I'm doing my highest level healing. I'm really liking the deep dive we get to do on an individual basis, one-on-one with people. So join us Tuesday nights, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time, 4 weeks, 2 hours each week. Tuesday nights, powerful group healing, followed by 2 private sessions that you get to have within the 4 weeks. So it's a real intensive deep dive Star Beings class. You're invited. I hope I'll see you there. Message me if you have questions. Hit me up in an email. It's very delightful to see you all. I love you guys so much. And those of you, by the way, who've already signed up for Star Beings, heads up, new structure. Just came to me now. Love you. Okay, my friends, take good care. Blessings, love, and light to you. Oh, writing in alignment also starts next Thursday. So if you're writing some stuff and need a place to go to get it done and some channeled writing processes that get you out of your own way, hop on into that as well. Email me with any questions. I love you too. I love you, Carrie. Love you, Tana. Love you, Gretchen. Love you, Ben. Love you, Rahima. Squeezel loves all of you. She's ready to run, but she loves you. Love you, Margaret. Okay, take care, guys. Have a good night.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.